Good evening. Welcome to Equity News on EquityAxis. Thank you for joining us as we broadcast live from our Hampton Court studios in the capital. My name is Caroline Shkerima. EDGARS is set to open 2 new stores just in time for the festive season. EDGARS chain store is opening in Kadoma on November 29 this year, and the company said another Jet store will be opened in Chegutu in time for Christmas trading, adding on to another Jet store which was opened in Banket during the course of this year. The company, however, reported a 25% decline in units sold due to the impact of diminishing consumer purchasing power. South African best investment and holding company PEPKOR exits its Zimbabwe operations. PEPKOR puts the blame on the adverse macroeconomic conditions in the country. Under PEP Africa operations in Zimbabwe, the company recorded a negative income of 70 million rand, which includes the full impairment of the disposal of the group's assets. The negative income was as a result of the depreciating local currency and constrained consumer demand due to inflation. PEPKOR, which operates as PEP in South Africa, manages a portfolio of retail chains focused on the value of market, selling predominantly clothing, footwear, and textiles. In a bid to reduce consumer burden given the continuous price hikes in the country, Netone has announced that there will be no transactional charges when using One Money effective today. Netone Chief Executive Officer Lazarus Muchenje says no fees will be charged when one sends or receives money, purchases airtime, or buys in the shops. Let's have a look.
Effective today, we've introduced zero-rated transactions on all One Money transactions, except the statutory 2% tax and the card swipe charges. I just want to repeat that. There will be no transaction fees on all One Money transactions, except the statutory fees and when you swipe your card. This means that when you send money, there's no fees. When you receive money, there are no fees. When you purchase airtime, there are no fees. When you cash out, there are no fees. When you buy at the shop using the merchant code, there are no fees. As well, when people have spoken, the network, the People's Network has listened. We expect that with these zero charges, the burden on the Zimbabwean consumer will be greatly reduced. We hope that this is going to be the Christmas cheer that every family is looking at. Effective today, we've introduced zero-rated transactions.
The Grain Millers Association of Zimbabwe has issued a statement dismissing earlier reports circulating on social media that mealie meal prices have increased due to removal of subsidies by government. The association says the removal of subsidies and duty on grain imports shows government sensitivity to the plight of its citizens and the administration efforts to ensuring the continued availability of basic foodstuffs at affordable prices. The association will hold an extraordinary meeting on grain strategy, procurement, importation, and price stabilization, where it will thoroughly examine the impact of these pronouncements. London-listed Rainbow Rare Earths has acquired 10 Zimbabwe mining claims which have only been explored for phosphate and cover. This could point to new interest on the country's rare earths, a part of the country's mineral resource whose prospect has gone largely unexplored. Rainbow says the land covers a total of 12.6 square kilometers in northern Zimbabwe, and the acquisition is part of the company's strategy to augment its rare earth portfolio. It also added that the acquisition aligns with the recent changes to the legal framework covering mining in Zimbabwe. Rainbow Rare Earths will immediately begin an exploration program on the claims, including geological mapping, sampling, and assigned to conclude an interpretation report that will evaluate the new claims for rare earth elements. The Zimbabwe Stock Exchange has adopted the Global Industry Classification Standards. According to the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, New indices will be introduced with effect from 1 January 2020. The new indices are expected to provide the market with better tools for performance measurement as well as assist in sector-based investment strategies. The current industrial index will be discontinued and redefined according to global industry classification standards, while the top 10 investable index will account for free float adjustment. That's all we had for you tonight. Stay tuned for our news review.
Climbing to the top takes more than just hard work and smart choices. It's the passion that drives you from within, the endurance to keep going through difficult times, and having a very clear vision of how to succeed. That's what we strive for at CBZ. We're a diversified and innovative listed financial services group in Zimbabwe with a complete range of activities including banking, short and long-term insurance, asset management, and property investments. CBZ has been a pinnacle for stability in the economic landscape of Zimbabwe, stemming from our deep-rooted values, our excellent customer service delivery, and our corporate vision to strive for excellence as a global competitor. Our continuous investment in research and development will cement our promise to provide customer convenience utilizing state-of-the-art technology. Relationships are at the core of what we do. We understand, however, that strong, long-lasting partnerships are not built overnight. With over 3 decades of wealth management, we have come to understand our clients and their specific investment requirements. Our unique mix of skills ensures that investment opportunities are examined from all perspectives. The balancing rocks of Zimbabwe have weathered the elements for thousands of years and stood the test of time, like majestic reminders of the fine balance of nature. They challenge our perception of what is possible and what endures. Just as CBZ has weathered the economic storms and remained steadfast throughout the turbulence of unsettled economies. Achieving the impossible through resilience and stability, we balance the elements of hard work, dedication, and experience, making us your ideal partner for success.
Welcome back to our news review, and joining me is our anchor and analyst Ibn Mabunda. Ibn, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers.
So, the Grain Millers Association today issued a statement following the circulation of minimum price increase on social media, and this has come after the government has removed subsidies on grain, and duty again has been removed on the grain. And we noted in the budget that the government said this will be effective from January 2020. What do you have to say about this?
Okay, I think this is quite an interesting development that we actually have taking place. In the course of last week, of course, we saw the budget being presented, should I say the other week, and the government subsidies were removed on these grains, and then we also saw the removal of import duties where specific grains were concerned. So pretty much the market has been trying to make head or tail of what this actually means. Of course, the suppliers would be looking in terms of, okay, now that the duty has been removed, what does this mean in terms of, the leeway to import, the availability of the foreign currency in terms of procuring the foreign currency to acquire the grain from beyond our borders. Then also, on the other hand, the producers will be trying to look at, okay, what's the implication of the removal of these subsidies. So the market is pretty much trying to make head or tail of what is taking place. So following reports that were awash on social media that had to do with the increase in the price of the maize, I actually made a phone call to Mr. Garakai Chawonza, who is the communications manager for the Grain Millers Association of Zimbabwe, and he of course debunked such a development, and he issued a statement again today that said, look, we are yet to have a conference to deliberate on the pricing mechanisms that would come into play, but we're pretty much expecting to see market forces come into play. Look, this is not something that would be now predicated on the hand of the government, as the subsidies have been removed by government. So we are pretty much expecting to see how the suppliers will price their products or their commodities in light of the forex issues and in light of how they would anticipate, the upcoming agricultural, or should I say, the prevailing agricultural season in terms of the pricing thereof. So I think we'd like to see what the Grain Millers Association of Zimbabwe will feed into the market, and also to see how the market will respond. So for now, it's pretty much a sit back, relax and watch and see how the situation actually progresses.
But in the budget, the government say that the prices are going to adjust. They did mention if it's a decrease or if it's an increase. And now that these millers are going to import on their own, doesn't it mean that generally the prices of these basic commodities are going to go up?
Definitely. So look, we are in for a pricing roller coaster. I mean, we're going to see prices increase. That's beyond a shadow of doubt. And of course, this would have an implication in terms of the inflation. I mean, we will start 2020 on a hyperinflationary note. I mean, all the fundamentals are leading into that direction. But what I also like on the part of government is that they're allowing market forces play, because look, when you bring in these subsidies, where are you taking that from? This is the taxpayers' money that's being fed into the system, and I mean, the rhetoric continues. So at least this allows market forces play on the market and gives leeway for real economic assessment and real economic development. So definitely we can expect prices to scale.
London listed Rainbow Rare Earths has acquired some of the mining claims in Zimbabwe, and we know that the mining sector is the biggest forex earning sector in the country. So what is the importance of this acquisition by this London listed?
Okay, well, Rare Earths is a company that is listed on the London Stock Exchange that has got mining operations across East Africa. So this is an entity that has an establishment on the African continent, that has an understanding of the dynamics on the African landscape. And so now they're coming into Zimbabwe is a little bit of a show of confidence in the recent government policies that have been implemented. We've seen government relax certain policies, especially to do with indigenization, and government has, of course, heralded that Zimbabwe is open for business. So this would come through as a positive. What I do not have the time to look into is just what kind of claims they're looking into. But this, as I said, would be a vote of confidence in government policies, and we can expect positives to come out of this. And they've gotten into 10 claims. Claims usually would not be as large, but I think this would be an initiative to test the market, to look at what it is that this means. We are yet to look into the amount of investment that they would bring. But where East Africa is concerned, with the policies in East Africa, which has pretty much proved to be a hub of investment, they've invested significant amounts in the millions of US dollars. And so we can expect the same possibly in Zimbabwe, tens of millions. But then again, this is predicated on how they would have fared vis-a-vis government policy and our local framework. But also, to put this into context, government launched a $12 billion industry initiative by 2023. So it would be interesting to see how things play out where that is concerned, and how stern and serious government is in achieving that $12 billion industry. So I must say this is a positive initiative, and let's see how Rare Earth progresses in the next 12 months. I think it would need to have this conversation end of 2020 to look at what form of investment that Rare Earth would have made with these 10 claims.
Okay, so given the adverse economic environment that Zimbabwe is in, we hear that EDGARS is opening 2 more stores. I mean, who is likely to do that given this operation that has led to most volumes of these companies declining? What do you think, how do you think this will affect their operations in Zimbabwe?
Caroline, this is a problem that is across the board. Almost every company that has been reported, be it their full-year results, their half-year results, their trading updates, they've been posting a decline in terms of their volumes. And particularly where EDGARS is concerned, they've reported a 25% decline in terms of their sales volumes, which is testament to the fact that there is depressed demand across the economy. Recently, in another field, in another industry, we saw heavyweight Delta bemoaning the depressed demand in the economy, how the volumes have been affected. But to come back again to their particular industry, we can talk about PEPKOR, that are withdrawing their operations from Zimbabwe through power sales. It is quite an interesting irony where one entity is pulling out while the other one continues to spread its wings. But this is the sentiment that EDGARS would be having. They are in it for the long haul. They're in it for the long run. They're looking at the possibility of things stabilizing perhaps in the medium to long term. Maybe they're looking 3 years from now, So this is what has fed into what EDGARS is doing, which perhaps PEPKOR might not be concerned about. PEPKOR Group being a firm that has got its roots in South Africa. They're pulling out of Zimbabwe. The waters have proved to be too hot for them, too turbulent, hence the initiative to pull out of Zimbabwe. And so, and EDGARS is really flapping their wings. They're saying sooner or later we will fly. So this would pretty much be the narrative of why we are seeing this interesting irony playing out between PEPKOR and EDGARS.
All right, Eben, thank you for joining us, and we hope to have you soon on our news review again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, viewers. Good evening.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to visit our website on www.EquityAxis.net. From the EquityAxis team and us, good night.